Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. This is Lieutenant JG Aaron Abreu. Welcome to video number 3 of our MSC IPP series. And today we're going to be talking about the MSC IPP application overview. The reason why I say overview, we're going to talk about the components of this application a little bit more in depth and chop it up so you can understand how you can properly prepare your application for this. This is how I broke down my application so that I don't feel overwhelmed when I'm preparing all these items, because it can seem like it's not a lot, but then it can be a lot, especially if you don't start on time. So what are these requirements or the contents of the MSC IPP application? Okay, sorry, a little technical difficulty there. So what does the application consist of? I divided it into 4 categories. You can see that items that come from other sources, meaning you need to have other people involved with this. Items that you work on your own, that means you can download it or you can start working on it without waiting on anybody else. Then you have your administrative and medical items. And lastly, if you're going to the specific training route, such as the HCA training route and USIS or Army Baylor, we have specific training items on that one as well. So let's go first with the items from other sources. So for this one, you're going to need a commanding officer endorsement, conditional release, an interview appraisal, and letter of recommendation. Commanding officer endorsement is needed for almost any officer application, so you need to start drafting this. Most commanding officers or most commands require you to at least have a draft when you submit your package. A conditional release is a must, so if you plan on submitting starting January 1st, I would go ahead and start drafting that up, that conditional release, because it has to go through a lot of individuals, especially if you are in a big command. Just ensure that you have enough time so even before the nav admin comes out. Now, if you're a career counselor and um, you disagree with that, please let me know in the comments below, but at least that's what I've did when I submitted for my application. Then you have the interview appraisals. We'll have a separate episode on this one, but you are required to be interviewed by at least an 04 and above within the community that you're trying to get into or apply for. Then letter of recommendations, 05 and above, no specific designator. So this can be your department head, your OIC that you've worked with before, who can vouch for you personally. We'll also have a separate episode for this one, specifically on what is a good letter of recommendation. So these are sources or items that are going to come from other sources, meaning other people have to get involved into this. So as you can see, there's a lot of items that you have to draft early on. So if you are planning out your application process, make sure that you are accounting for this other individuals that you have to wait on as well. Next are the items that you work or get on your own. That means that these are items that you already have access to, such as your awards, right? So if you can download that already, you can make copies of it, your evaluations, your degrees and college transcripts, the officer application and personal motivational statement. You can start working on it as early as January or as early as today and just start making those drafts, because it takes time, right? It's not there's not a lot of individuals, at least speaking for myself. I'm not that gifted in writing about myself. So it does take some time, especially when you send it out to your mentors and get it critiqued. So ensuring that things that you can control now, go ahead and start on those items as well, because the only person that you're going to be waiting on is yourself. So go ahead and start collecting them and organizing it. The third general group of items that you're going to need, administrative and medical items. And this is pretty self explanatory, but believe it or not, sometimes it can take a while. Medical examination, do they have the appointments? You have to get labs drawn. What if the labs are abnormal? When are you going to get an EKG, the x ray? So, depending, especially if you're outside the corpsman rate and there are specific things that you don't understand that you need to get, or you don't know the corpsman that you're working with in the MTF, it's hard to get to these appointments sometimes or get an appointment slot. I remember when I was an officer recruiter, it's a challenge to get a commissioning physical sometimes in some of the clinics. So plan ahead for this one. Your medical examination has to be valid within the 12 months. You're also going to need a security clearance or a memo or a JPass printout. So two easy items, but it does take time as well for this. And last but not the least, training specific items. So remember on our last video, we talked about what are the different routes. One is training route and one is the direct route. If you're going the training route, you're going to need your test course within the 5 years, depending on what test requirement your program is asking for, a letter of acceptance if you are in this program that requires you to be enrolled in a master's program. However, if you are HCA specific, right, so for HCA healthcare administrators, if you're trying to go to the training route, the only two schools, at least the past few years, per the NAV admin, you're going to need to be accepted or have a letter of competitiveness from the Army Baylor or the Uniformed Services University. And there's specific GRE requirements for that one and GMAT requirements for the school, as you can see here on the screen. So those are the items that you are going to need for your application in no specific order. If you want to know the order, then go to the reference that my favorite reference, the NMPDC website, Navy Medicine Professional Development Center website. If you click on there, in my previous video, I show you where it's at. Go ahead and take a look at it. So start creating a calendar and a timeline of what you are going to do in terms of starting the application process. Remember, do not wait for the NAV admin. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, post on the MSC IPP mentoring page. Feel free to message me via any social media platforms. I'm always here to help you out. And there's a lot of Mustang MSCs that is there to help you out. And hopefully you guys have a good day and talk to you guys soon and see you in the next video.